the Dallas Wilson news. Listen, can we talk about that for a few moments? I know we kind of talked about it today for probably too long, but I haven't spoke to you about it. You and I were talking last night about it. The amount of confidence coming out of the camp of Florida across the board was the most unison I've ever seen it. It was pure just joy. I mean, we had, again, you saw the Saint outfit. I mean, we were vibing yesterday and even into this morning, right? Even going to bed last night, like I was more so having fun with it because I was like, that's the hoopla. The crystal balls come flowing out. I go, holy shit, it's real. Like this thing is about to happen. Here we go. And then rug. Look, I kept saying that. I go, it feels too good to be true. The class still ended up really strong. Flipping Lagonze Hayward kind of gets overlooked a little bit, but still, we'll talk about that pickup here in a minute. But tell me your thoughts on this whole Dallas Wilson. Walk me through what you were going through this morning.
Yeah, it's like Mary Flipness turned into Mary Whiffness in the morning. But yeah, by the way, that video was funny. I was laughing all night because of that video. But yeah, around, I would say late last night, I got a text saying Dallas Wilson's in. And I was like, wow, okay. And so I was just like, all right, I'm going to give me some sleep. We're going to enjoy the morning, whatever. And he committed at 10 in the morning. Crystal balls start rolling in. Everybody's feeling good. And then all of a sudden the gut punch happens and he commits to Oregon. And like he had the shirt on and he's like, I'm committed to Oregon. And then he comes and picks up the mic again. And I'm like, oh, wait, this is going to be the ultimate tour, right? Yeah.
I'd same thing.
I was like, no. And he said, go Ducks. And I'm like, man. But yeah, I mean, like it was one of those last minute deals. I mean, coming down to these recruitments, especially in the NIL era, you know, there's always, especially a guy like Phil Knight who's got unlimited money that he wants to spend on NIL. I mean, all it takes is a text message to say, hey, look, don't commit to Florida before you head out there. I'm going to up it to whatever. And he doesn't even have to tell anybody. And I think that Florida, in a way, I think they did the job that they were supposed to do. I think they need to do a better job with maybe communicating last minute things that could happen and maybe you could counter something or whatever. But you got to be really sneaky now with these 5-star guys. And especially when it comes down to them committing, because if you're not, man, somebody can just yank them up from you last second. I mean, Auburn kind of did that with some of our recruits with Amaris, I think Williams last year. There was just a lot of things that went on last year where we lost some.
Morris
But
Williams.
overall, like this year is a little bit different. We lost Gelsey, but we gained Lagonza Hayward. So we lost a 3-star, gained a elite safety. So
And
that's
Gessley
okay.
was more of like a see you later because we wanted him as a tight end. And we haven't really sold tight ends, to be honest with you. He wanted to play wide receiver. I don't think
Yeah.
he starts in our wide receiver room because even though we did miss out on Dallas Wilson, the talent in that room, we were just saying before the show, I was like, bro, we signed over the last 2 years 4 stars and a 5-star. And this is now their time to kind of lock and load here. And we were talking too, look, Dallas Wilson, I was never like, I love it because it's fun, it's sexy, the 5-star, like it's cool, like it's fun to get hyped up for. But if you go get me a dog or a gator in the portal, that's where I'm cool with. You know what I mean? And I'll talk about that more, but continue.
Yeah, that's kind of where my like head was at. I mean, like, yeah, you feel the gut punch and you're like, oh man, and it just sucks and it brings a downer to the day. But like at the same time, I'm like, well, I mean, we still have all this buyout money and we had donors that donated even more money. So
To get
hey,
it. There's plenty left
yeah,
over.
there's plenty left over. You've got so much that you can use in the portal. And I talked to somebody earlier. I don't know how many they're going to take, but they gave me some names. Not going to put it out there or anything like that. But the names that I heard were pretty good. We'll see what happens, though. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and promise that like we're going to get all these elite names in the portal or anything. But the names I heard are pretty good right now. So anybody that's kind of upset about today, like I get it because I was a little bit too. But at the same time, like portal wise, it looks good right now from what I've heard. We'll see what happens though.
Yeah, look, some of the names you told me too. I mean, I promise you, it would eliminate what the miss on Dallas Wilson. But we've seen this. This is going to happen, and I kept saying this too. Is that with the transfer portal, you can almost afford a couple misses. We said it last year. I think we panicked. I remember us panicking, and last year was a blunder with what happened on National Signing Day with how many people we lost. I mean, we went from 3 to like 18. I mean, you want to talk about getting kicked in the nuts. Dallas Wilson was an opportunity to go from 10 to 5. So a much different energy vibe than last year, given the fact that we were even in the conversation for a top 3 class at one point when we were 50th. People forget. Here's the thing. three 3 weeks, a month and a half ago, Billy Napier was going to be fired. This recruiting class was in the shitter. We were over this recruiting class. We didn't care. We were moving on, right? FSU's on a burner. They're getting everybody. Miami. It's worst case scenario. When pen came to paper and time came to get rocking and rolling, we finished 7-5, worse than Miami record. Beat them in recruiting, and the momentum is on an all-time high. Miami, who's finished in the top 5 class the last 3 years, that's a massive drop off for them. So again, we obviously want to compete with the big dogs, and I understand those things, but take things into consideration. Florida still finished 7-5. We finished behind teams like Oregon, and I want to talk about this too. We're never going to be able to outspend Oregon. And unless they make a change to how this recruiting world goes, they got to put a cap on it, it's going to become the MLB. And the Dodgers. The Oregon Ducks are going to be the Dodgers / Yankees, where they're just going to buy everybody they want. That just is what it is. So we're not going to outspend Phil Knight. Like, I don't care what logo you want to put. We ain't doing it. We're not going to outspend Texas. We're not going to outspend Texas A&M. It's a different level of money that those cats are working with. Ohio State's always going to be aggressive. Who we honestly need to compare ourselves to is Georgia. They're not really aggressive at spending. They will spend like we do, but they're able to back it up with a lot of success and a lot of development. We're getting that way. I think that's why what you saw today, closing it as strong as it did with the top talent that it did, Lagonza Hayward, Hilton Stubbs, and Ben Hanks Jr., all top 70 players, okay? Those guys are coming here. They got their money. But because they saw the development from Will Harris, they saw the projection and the trajectory that Florida football is going and want to be part of that. And so we have to continue to build on that, okay? Trying to spin with these big, high, don't get mad at me like, oh, we can spend. Stop it. Like, it's not like we're not poor, but I'm telling you guys, there's like rich, there's wealthy, and then there's Oregon, okay? That's where that class sits, right? Even Ole Miss, great year for them. Been on a burner. You hear why does Lane want to leave Ole Miss? Because you hear it all the time. They don't have the means and the funds to make it happen. Can Florida maybe give it a little bit more? Yeah, 100%. And I think you start giving Florida and others more ammo, the boosters will come in waves, right? So all those things have to set up. But if push comes to shove, you're never going to outbid the duck. That's just it. So things got to change. I think you got to put a cap on it because if not, it's going to get ugly before it gets cleaner.
Yeah, I think overall you did pretty well in positions of need, especially at safety.
Yeah,
I mean,
I knew this comment was going to happen.
yeah, scooping up the top 100 guys, top 50 guys. I mean, you got Ben Hanks at corner. You've got Vernell Brown, 5-star wide receiver. Nobody's ever going to say no to a 5-star. Ty Jackson, who I think is going to be really good if he puts some size on. I mean, you got Jaden Woods, Jalen Wiggins, 2 edge guys. You need edge guys, so those were 2 good gets. Nashawn Montgomery stayed in the class. You got Tavares Dice at an offensive tackle. We needed a decent offensive tackle, and this is a 4-star guy. Top, he's in the 190s. We get nothing but 3 stars on offensive line, so we finally get a 4-star. But I mean, you look at it, and I get where some people are on the negative side. Like, I'm more on the critical side, but also I'm trying to be more on like the positive, like look at it this way side. Critical side, you look at it, you're like, okay, well, we came up from, I think it was 50. We won all those games, and it was a miraculous comeback recruiting wise. It was phenomenal, like what Billy Napier was able to pull off within like a month and a half. But you're also like, okay, well, we're only 7th in the SEC, and there's 7 other teams that recruited better than us, and we play in that conference. So it's like, okay, big 3 wise, you beat everybody, so that's good. But also there's that side that says, hey, look, let's see what we do in the portal. Maybe we get 6 to 8 guys that are really good, or 10 guys that are really good. And then maybe we can make something out of this and make a run next year. So I think overall, it's okay to be upset with what happened today results wise. But I think overall wise, you got to look at it and say, hold on, let's see what they do in the portal first before I can really pass judgment. Because I think a portal, I mean, it's basically a second recruiting class almost, except you're getting guys that are
Have
experienced and
experience.
can play right away. Obviously, some of them can only play 1 year, 2 years, but at least it buys you some time to be able to get somebody else the next season, or vice versa, or whatever your position is. So, like I said, see what we do in the portal before you pass judgment on it. But I think overall, I mean, just with the guys that you flipped towards the end, you did a pretty good magic trick job on that whole class, because I thought this class was in the gutter. and we somehow mustered it up to, I think it's 11 now. It was 10, but it moved down to 11. But still, that's great for where it was.
Tennessee flipped a guy at the end, Jaden Perlow from USC, which bumped them up a little bit higher than we did. But I think there's nothing to hang your hat on. Again, I think the only reason why people are even slightly upset because of the big rush of the Dallas Wilson news, and we kind of had a letdown, right? But that was always a big wish list. I tried to explain that to people yesterday. I get it. I love this class. I've loved every class that we've had. I mean, that's just kind of the optimistic in me, the Disney Gator in me. But I think there's the level of talent, and we had Dan Thompson on from Stadium McGill today, and he goes, look, the floor has raised, so the ceiling can get higher, and that's how I look at this class, is that you can tell the talent that is coming in, and look, we kind of nailed it on the head too. We were talking about it with Dan Thompson here, and this is where we all have to get into it. And I'll get back to the spending thing because that, it just people are like, oh, spend more. It's like, guys, I'm not shitting on Florida. I'm not taking a negative approach to this. Like, if you can't look at that and say, yeah, the people that are backing these other schools, the oil money, Phil Knight money, you can't grasp how much that is, and a drop of $2 million is like nothing to them. And yes, can we spend $2 million? But in the grand scheme of things, like $2 million here and there starts to add up. When $2 million there is like, it's yeah, okay, cool. What else do you got? Like they're unfazed by it, and so they can move a lot more aggressively in certain situations. Yes, don't get in bidding words of Oregon. Well, Oregon was signing the number 2 of the number 1 wide receivers. If that's what you want, that's what you're going to be betting against. Anywho, where was I going? I was on a burner there. Oh, so the 2 years here for DJ Lagway, right? You got to really think that this. Look how I'm looking at next year. It's a must win. I mean, it's got to be. You have to make the playoffs. Like, you have to be in that conversation next year, because your team is really built up to this moment. The youth is becoming mature. You still have some younger areas, but you can't look at this team and tell me that DJ Lagway going to his second year is not going to be the guy. And then really, I mean, even that third year, right? So 2-year window. So do you go and get a guy that's going to be a project, or like you said, go get very specific guys that are going to be impactful now, and then go into the portal that are going to help you win right now in the same kind of asset? Again, well, don't you want recruiting? Look, it's much different. You're maneuvering a lot different. You got a little bit of depth. You got some guys that can make impacts very quickly, very soon, and then you can go and move on. I think that should be a positive too. Something that Florida's been able to sell for the last couple of years is that you can come play right away because we don't have any talent. Our recruiting's been in the shit. We've got no level. We got none of that. Isn't the case anymore. People were being pushed. We pushed out this. They didn't leave. We pushed out Jakeem Jackson and Kelby Collins. Those 2 guys were the number 1 and number 2 commits of our 2023 class. They were the 2 highest rated guys from our 2023 class. The 4 lowest were Aaron Gates, Bryce Thornton, Najee Harris, and I think a kicker. Were the 3 lowest. That's the heart of the team. So those 2 guys got pushed out because they just got beat out. So keep that in mind of like, okay, let's go get some guys that are going to be impactful right away. And I think that's something to keep. That's what should excite you, is that put the team together now. Not many people are leaving, right? Banks is still a big question mark. Gums, I believe he's going to be back. But Big Dez, Cam Jackson is going to be gone. That D-line definitely is going to need some work. That's going to be a point of a topic, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But, I mean, a lot of this team is coming back, and we're seeing what it's looking like, the youth, how it looked the last couple of weeks.